Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's Sunday evening, it's midday, and early evening. And tonight we're going to do something a little different, okay? We're going to switch it up a little. Tonight we're going to do just one night, we'll be back to wines. This is Guinness Stout. We're going to do the story of Guinness. And the Guinness, if you notice the hop's this way, if it was turned the other way, it would be the Irish coat of arms, the hop. Now, Arthur Guinness founded Guinness in Dublin, Ireland, St. James Gate in 1759. And it became pretty much an instant success. It did very well. It went from, quadrupling sales over a 10-year period. And the three biggest stout makers, the next biggest stout maker came along was Murphy's, and you had Beamish. Now, Murphy's didn't come in for 100 years later. Murphy's came in the 1850s by the Murphy boys. There was 13. James was the oldest of 13 children he had. And he was a great philanthropist, and that was in Cork, Ireland. Now, Guinness is the bigger of everybody. Guinness, and they were just bought out by Diageo in 2000, in the 90s and into 2000, and they produce probably $2 billion worth of beer a year. Okay, they're noted for their stout, and St. James Gate. I was just over there in Ireland this year, and what they did is they revitalized that whole area, and they opened it up about 15 years ago, 20 years ago to the public, the Guinness store, and they get a million people a year. And this beer is made in it's made in maybe 5 countries. And it's brewed in 50 countries, and sold in 120 countries, okay? And the reason why they brew it in different countries, a lot of people don't think stout travels that good. That's why when you're in Cork, a lot of the people years ago, still to this day, Cork, they'll drink Murphy's because it's made in Cork. And now in the 50s, they came out with the steel containers. They did away with all the wood. So the coppers, the guy who make the wine barrels, they used to all make wooden barrels. The barrels were wood for 100 odd years. And then they went to the stainless. Then they hired a guy, Michael Ash, in 1951, who was a mathematician, and they made him a brewer. And when they made him, he worked on this nitrogen called the Guinness gases. He uses nitrogen and CO2. So the nitrogen, you put the two together, the nitrogen, it gives you small bubbles. CO2 gives you big bubbles. The CO2 wants to get out of the when it goes in, and the nitrogen wants to go down. So the two of them foam that give you that foam that comes up in the Guinness, okay? And he started that. They finally came out with it in 59, and it revolutionized it because it gave it that different pour. Like I call them the brown angels when they're coming up. I came up with that expression back in the 80s. Guinness was running a 90s. Guinness was running a marketing ploy for St. Paddy's Day. If you could write a poem about Guinness, they give you a house in Ireland. So it was a cottage, a Fats cottage. So when I was looking at my beer one day, I said, hey, you know what? The brown angels, they're bellowing out. But I never sent it in. Probably wouldn't have made it anyway, but that's okay. Now, it gives you that creamy head when it too. So what they did was, then they came up with this idea about 15 years ago. They got a CO2 cartridge in this, okay? Now, the CO2 cartridge, when you open it, you give it a second to go. You hear that? And you just let it come up. I don't drink too much Guinness, but this is great to cook with. You take one of these with a corned beef in a pot, pour this in, make the corned beef. Oh, my mother used to do that. It's beautiful. Now, you notice I wore my green in my hat. I got my Lahinch Ireland golf shirt on. Now, they also say it's beneficial, Guinness. They say it's got the same nutrients as vegetables and fruits I don't know if that's baloney, but they do print it on the Guinness thing, you know. So the perfect pint. Now, two with Guinness. Guinness, when you go into a lot of pubs, you get a Guinness. If they have the kegs all in the same area, you're not going to get the true Guinness. Guinness should be served at 42 degrees. It's a little warmer, creamier beer. Okay, it's not going to be as cold as a Budweiser or another beer. Okay, so and you also need, they call it a U on it. It circulates it so it doesn't displace it. So and the nitrogen and the gases that have to come out are different than a regular pub beer. So if you go into a true good Irish pub, sometimes I'll have that keg to the side because that's a different setup, okay? So, and that's important. Now, there's different glasses you can use. This is a standard. Now, an Irish Guinness, this is not a Guinness glass, but it's a Bass glass, but and Bass is second to Guinness. Guinness does twice as much as Bass, and Bass is second. Now, this is like a tulip-shaped glass. A true Guinness glass would be a little higher, a little thinner, maybe not a lot. But see, I love drinking out of glass. I prefer a Guinness glass because I like it's got a little ridge here. But I like drinking out of a thin glass. You know. Now, you see, we pour this. Now, you pour it at a 45-degree angle, okay? And you're supposed to let it sit. Now, in a pub, this you can pour straight out, but to show it to you in a pub, you're supposed to pour 3/4. Pour it on an angle, pour 3/4. And if you get a good guy, he can, you know, there's a guy last year in a pub that I saw that he'll draw your portrait in it. For St. Paddy's Day, they bring him. He's a real craftsman. And in Ireland, when you go over there, the Irish treat this as a meal. You know what I mean? And when you see these Irish gents, they come into the pub, they're sitting there, they don't drink it like an American. I mean, this beer is going to last them longer than we eat a meal. You know, they'll sit down for 40 minutes. They nurse their beers, you know. They come in, one or two. It's a slow process. They take their time with it. They drink it slower than wine. Now, that's the double pint is called the perfect pour. See, I poured it straight ahead, but if you were to tap, that tap would come down the CO2. This is in a can. It comes down, you sit, they hold it to the side. It should take about 2 minutes to pour. Some people say 4 to 5. They say 120. A good pour can be 2 minutes. Hit it. If it's the right temperature, and they got the U-tube, and the clamp, the U-clamp, and everything done correctly with it. If you got the true Guinness pour, and a lot of people, you can pour the Guinness, they'll sit back, pour. Now, a surprising thing is like Guinness Book of Records is from the Guinness Company. They came up with that as a marketing ploy. They came up with a marketing ploy in the 50s, and it took off right away. And they started publishing it, and then they all said, wait a second, we're not giving it away as a marketing ploy. They started selling the book, and they did extremely well with it, you know. Now, here's an interesting stat. You would think the number one selling beer in Ireland right now is Heineken. Number 2 is Budweiser, okay? Then you have Guinness, right? The number one country where Guinness is sold is the UK, okay? Number 2 is Nigeria. That changed in the 2000s. Number 3 is Ireland. Number 4 is the United States. Now, when I looked that up about Nigeria, it surprised me. Then I looked up the patron saint of Ireland is St. Patrick's. The patron saint of Nigeria is St. Patrick. So, maybe that's why, you know. They drink the Nigeria too. Their beer's a little higher potent than this. These are around 4%. Plus, people think you drink a Guinness, it's a heavy beer. It's less calories usually than a light beer. There's only 120 calories in a 12-ounce Guinness. You know, it's a dry stout. You know, they call it. I think it looks brown black. They call it ruby red. I don't see the ruby red, but I want to thank you. It's a little change. Figure we'd change it up a little, you know. But we'll be back tomorrow. And I found in the cellar, I was going through some old stuff that I had, you know, that I didn't ever drink. And I found a 71 Barola. So we might try to open that this week. And I found a Chateau de Pop. I don't know why I never opened that, because they're only supposed to last 7 or 8 years. And that's, it's got to be 20 years old. Doesn't even have a date on the bottle, because it's a table red. They didn't date the table reds. Usually they drink 5 to 7, but it's the better Chateau de Pop. You know, it's a good one. It's a bent bottle, looks like but it's, we'll give that a shot during the week. And listen, enjoy your Sunday, enjoy your dinner, enjoy your friends, your family. Let's hope we keep going on the right road here. Stay isolated, relax, cleansing breaths, and let's pray. Let's pray for when we sit down at dinner, when you're driving or you're walking or you're just sitting around for a minute, you hit the pillow at night. Let's, never forget all that everyone's doing for us and the people on the front lines. Okay? Take care. God bless. I'll see you. Good night.